All right, so this is going to be a review of the Super Mario Bros. 2023. There's been kind of some back and forth. Critics and audiences not really seeing eye to eye. The anti-woke crowd, from what I've heard, not seeing eye to eye on whether this is woke or not. You guys should really get on the same page. So yeah, there's been a lot of conversation about this movie since it came out. Actually, that made me want to see it even more than the trailers or anything like that. Like, it's still a video game adaptation and it's Illumination. I don't care for their movies, so I wasn't really that excited for it. But I guess the trailers looked okay. But the conversation around it was much more interesting. It's directed by Aaron Horvath, Michael Jelenic, Pierre Ludic, and Fabian Pollock. They've done some other stuff. I looked through their IMDb. I think Teen Titans Go to the Movies and some other stuff. But so this movie, it starts off with Bowser, played by Jack Black. It's pretty much the scene from the trailer. He's taken over these other places. He took over this kingdom with these penguin-like things and imprisoned them. And he was going after the superstar, and he wants to use that along with marrying Peach to be able to pretty much take over everywhere else. So that's the conflict. So Mario, played by Chris Pratt, and Luigi, played by Charlie Day. They're both plumbers in Brooklyn. They're trying to use a commercial to try to get some more business because they were under this other guy. They worked for this other dude, but they've gone out on their own, and they're not really doing all that well, at least not yet. So they fix somebody's pipes at one point, but really it starts off when there's like this big pipe burst that happens in the street. And so they go there to try to fix that, but they get sucked into a pipe. And Luigi ends up getting sent to a much more spooky area that's already controlled by Bowser, so he gets captured. And Mario ends up in Mushroom Kingdom. And he meets Princess Peach, played by Anya Taylor-Joy. And along with her, and then some other people that they try to get along the way, like they try to get this army and things with Donkey Kong and things like that. They're trying to take down Bowser and also save Luigi. So I didn't like this movie, at least not all the way through. I think it has a weak story. All right, we'll get to that. But there are definitely some things I did like. The animation is great. This is an Illumination movie. They make sure the animation is great because they know they have very little else. So the animation is beautiful, very colorful, has a lot of life to it, the entire movie really. And there's a lot of really good detail on the characters, like Bowser, like right from the beginning, right? He has a lot of detail in his scales and things like that. It looks great. So there's definitely that going for it. Mario and Luigi definitely have a really good brotherly connection, I think. I wish we could have seen more of them together because Luigi spends most of the time in a cage over some lava. But I think their brotherly camaraderie that they have going on, it does work, right? They have a very classic dynamic. Mario's the one that's more more willing to do things, right? More of a go-getter. It was his idea to start the plumbing business. That's why the dad's upset with him. And Luigi's the cowardly one. But I think it works for the most part. Voice acting, right? I think everybody gives an okay performance for the most part. You can definitely tell that it's them, right? So it is a little distracting at times. Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong really took me out of it because it just sounds like Seth Rogen, and I don't think that voice really fit the character. Everybody else, Anya Taylor-Joy and them, right? You can definitely tell that it's their voice, but the voice actually still fits. Whereas with Donkey Kong, I don't know. But the standout, really, of the entire movie is Jack Black as Bowser, right? He was dressing up as Bowser. You can tell that he was into this. He was dedicated. And it shows. There's certain moments where you can definitely pick out his voice, like when he's kind of simping over Peach and stuff like that. You can hear it coming out. But for the most part, he sounds different, and his voice works for Bowser a lot, right? It's like whenever he came on, I wish there was more of him in the movie, because whenever he came on screen, he just stole the movie for me. Especially that Peaches song, it's fantastic, right? I don't think it's a full song. Like if you look at the soundtrack, it's probably not a full song. It's probably just like a verse, but but it was catchy. And I liked it. there are some comedy beats that legitimately made me laugh, right? Like these Toad characters, they're like kind of cute little characters, but then there's some of them that'll be really serious. Like she has one advisor or whatever, Toad, that talks to her, Princess Peach, and he has like this really serious, deep voice, and that was kind of fun. So that was making me laugh. There's this other really cute character that says like really morbid things, which that was really funny.
How long you guys been in here?
Time, like hope, is an illusion.
Please, we are depressed enough.
So yeah, there are definitely comedic moments that work. There are definitely comedic moments that didn't work and felt cheap, but but there are some that work. And then I'd say, other than Jack Black, the other thing that's the main positive, I think, is they fit a lot of the games in here, right? I reviewed the old the Super Mario Bros, the live action one, which sucks. And one of the things I said was it doesn't really feel like the games, and they just haphazardly threw little references to the game, but it really doesn't feel like the games at all. But they fit a lot of the games in this, which is also a negative we'll talk about. But yeah, it's very recognizable as Mario, like with the character design and stuff like that, but especially with the power-ups. I thought that was the best that they, infused concepts from the games in here. Was the power-ups. You get hit and it goes away. So when he's doing these certain things going on this course, it uses it very effectively. With that being said, though, the story is very weak, right? If I had to describe it, it feels like it's the bare minimum to just kind of get this done, like to just like cross over the finish line with this movie, rather than trying to do something great or something that feels special and inspired. It feels like, hey, let's just think of all the Mario references we can and just throw them in there. I mean, just haphazardly, some of them. Like, some of them really work and flow with the story, and some of them really don't and feel forced, right? Like the part where they get on the carts, and it's essentially Mario Kart. It's there because Mario Kart, right? And it's a very popular game, so that's why it's there. But I really do not remember why they needed to get on carts. They needed to, get to Bowser in time, so they got on carts or something like that. It felt like it was there just because it's Mario Kart, right? So, it felt like it was Mario running from this thing to this thing to this thing that you recognize from the games. It's got a lot of references. It's got characters, Donkey Kong, Diddy Kong. You see him at one point. Cranky Kong's part of it. All the different, characters, Toad and things like that. But not really trying to tell a story, that much of a story, with those things. Like with character arcs and things like that, right? Like Mario has this thing where he's in Mushroom Kingdom and he's just getting smacked around. Like, he's terrible at everything pretty much. And he starts to kind of get better, especially with the power-ups, but it's mainly the power-ups that make him able to really do anything. I don't really feel like there's an arc with him getting legitimately better at what he's doing, which is what you would do in a movie, right? Like, which is what you would essentially do. When it's a video game, okay, you get power-ups, whatever. But for a movie, you have a character that's just terrible at this because he's new to all this and things like that. And he gets better over time naturally, and you have those power-ups to go along with it. Within this, it feels like it's mainly just the power, right? Like, he gets strength of will more than actually getting better at things legitimately on his own, right? There's a whole thing with his dad, which is like one line of dialogue, I think, earlier on. Like, by the time it comes back, I'd forgotten about it. So him and Donkey Kong are kind of connecting because they have family issues, father issues, and it feels completely unearned. It's like an emotional moment for them to connect, and it feels completely unearned, right? It does feel like we go from one. It doesn't feel like it has much structure to it. One thing to the next thing to the next thing to the next thing. And throw in as many references as you can. It's Illumination, so we got to definitely get that soundtrack with these fun songs for the kids, things like that. And some of the jokes, I can't remember exactly, but there were some really cheap jokes that was like, really, did you absolutely need that? And I can't remember what they were, but there were ones that made me roll my eyes. So it's like, you're not even trying here. And that's my main thing with this. It feels bare minimum. It feels like we're doing just enough so that kids and Mario fans will like this movie, but everyone else will come out of the movie pretty underwhelmed. But what does it matter? We got the money, I think that's pretty much all I had. That's all I'd written down on here. It really just feels, kind of aimless at times where Mario is just going from this place to this place. It doesn't really feel like it has much structure to it. It's just this thing, then this thing, then this thing. And it's mainly about the references. We can get these kids in here because it's colorful and all these, different things, right? Illumination knows how to do that. And for everything else, it's just nostalgia for people who really love Mario and love Nintendo. And other than that, it kind of feels uninspired when it comes to the overall story, as a whole. So I'm gonna give this a good enough. It's okay, right? There's enough enjoyable moments in there. I didn't even mention I really liked the climactic fight that they had with Bowser and stuff like that. I thought that was really fun, right? Different power ups and things like that are fun and cool. I enjoyed more of this movie than I thought I would. And for what it is, I do think it's fine. But I think it honestly should have been better than this. I think this character, honestly, and Nintendo really deserves a better movie than this. But it's still okay, I guess. So anyway, that's Super Mario Bros. 2023, and that's it. Subscribe, and we're done.